trying to read our DNA is like trying to understand software code with only 90% of the code riddled with errors. It's very difficult in that case to understand and predict what that software code is going to do. The lessons of history would suggest that civilizations move in cycles. You can track that back quite far: the Babylonians, the Sumerians, followed by the Egyptians, the Romans, China. We're obviously in a very upward cycle right now, and hopefully that remains the case. But it may not. SpaceX has the potential of saving the US government $1 billion a year. We are opposed to creating an entrenched monopoly with no realistic means for anyone to compete. When something is important enough, you do it even if the odds are not in your favor. My proceeds from the PayPal acquisition were $180 million. I put $100 million in SpaceX, $70 million in Tesla, and $10 million in Solar City. I had to borrow money for rent. Over time, I think we will probably see a closer merger of biological intelligence and digital intelligence. Rockets are cool. There's no getting around that. I think it would be great to be born on Earth and die on Mars. Just hopefully not at the point of impact. If you had to buy a new plane every time you flew somewhere, it would be incredibly expensive. I'm a Silicon Valley guy. I just think people from Silicon Valley can do anything. In the case of Apple, they did originally do production internally, but then along came unbelievably good outsourced manufacturing from companies like Foxconn. We don't have that in the rocket business. There's no Foxconn in the rocket business. I think it's very important to have a feedback loop where you're constantly thinking about what you've done and how you could be doing it better. I hate writing about personal stuff. I don't have a Facebook page. I don't use my Twitter account. I am familiar with both, but I don't use them. There are some important differences between me and Tony Stark, like I have 5 kids, so I spend more time going to Disneyland than parties. From an evolutionary standpoint, human consciousness has not been around very long. A little light just went on after 4.5 billion years. How often does that happen? Maybe it is quite rare. The value of beauty and inspiration is very much underrated, no question. But I want to be clear, I'm not trying to be anyone's savior. I'm just trying to think about the future and not be sad. I had so many people try to talk me out of starting a rocket company, it was crazy. I think long-term you can see Tesla establishing factories in Europe, in other parts of the US, and in Asia. Biofuels such as ethanol require enormous amounts of cropland and end up displacing either food crops or natural wilderness, neither of which is good. I've actually not read any books on time management. Selling an electric sports car creates an opportunity to fundamentally change the way America drives. Mars is the only place in the solar system where it's possible for life to become multiplanetarian. The path to the CEO's office should not be through the CFO's office, and it should not be through the marketing department. It needs to be through engineering and design. I think we are at the dawn of a new era in commercial space exploration. Tesla is becoming a real car company. I would like to die on Mars. Just not on impact. Some people don't like change, but you need to embrace change if the alternative is disaster. I would like to fly in space. Absolutely. That would be cool. I used to just do personally risky things, but now I've got kids and responsibilities, so I can't be my own test pilot. That wouldn't be a good idea. But I definitely want to fly as soon as it's a sensible thing to do. I'm reasonably optimistic about the future, especially the future of the United States for the century, at least. A Prius is not a true hybrid, really. The current Prius is, like, 2% electric. It's a gasoline car with slightly better mileage. I think Tesla will most likely develop its own autopilot system for the car, as I think it should be camera-based, not LiDAR-based. However, it is also possible that we do something jointly with Google. Some companies out there quote a start of production that is substantially in advance of when customers get their cars. Land on Mars, a round-trip ticket, $500,000. It can be done. I tend to approach things from a physics framework. And physics teaches you to reason from first principles rather than by analogy. It is theoretically possible to warp spacetime itself, so you're not actually moving faster than the speed of light, but it's actually space that's moving. If you think back to the beginning of cell phones, laptops, or really any new technology, it's always expensive. The U.S. automotive industry has been selling cars the same way for over 100 years, and there are many laws in place to govern exactly how that is to be accomplished. There's nothing. I've bought everything I want. I don't like yachts or anything. You know, I'm not a yacht person, and I've got pretty much the nicest plane I'd want to have. The pace of progress on Mars depends upon the pace of progress of SpaceX. Stationary storage will be as big as the car business long term. The growth rate will probably be several times what it is for the car business. The factory is the machine that builds the machine. There's a silly notion that failure's not an option at NASA. Failure is an option here. If things are not failing, you are not innovating enough. If we're going to have any chance of sending stuff to other star systems, we need to be laser-focused on becoming a multi-planet civilization. I'm trying to construct a world that maximizes the probability that SpaceX continues its mission without me. If you look at our current technology level, something strange has to happen to civilizations, and I mean strange in a bad way. And it could be that there are a whole lot of dead, one-planet civilizations. We could definitely make a flying car, but that's not the hard part. The hard part is, how do you make a flying car that's super safe and quiet? Because if it's a howler, you're going to make people very unhappy. Here in the West, people often don't like listening to their leaders, even if they are right. I usually describe myself as an engineer. That's basically what I've been doing since I was a kid. The reason we should do a carbon tax is because it's the right thing to do. It's economics 101, elementary stuff. As you heat the planet up, it's just like boiling a pot. Facebook is quite entrenched and has a network effect. It's hard to break into a network once it's formed. Government isn't that good at rapid advancement of technology. It tends to be better at funding basic research. To have things take off, you've got to have commercial companies do it.